A very good morning to all of you, sir. Dear equity shareholders, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you and thank you for making it convenient to attend the meeting of the equity shareholders of your company. We are just waiting for some more members to join because of some technical difficulty as it is an adjourned meeting. We'll give another 5 minutes and then we'll start up on the proceedings. Thank you. A very good morning to all of you once again, dear equity shareholders. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you and thank you for making it convenient to attend the meeting of the equity shareholders of your company. The meeting of the equity shareholders is convened in pursuance of the order dated 11th April 2022 of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, in company application number 24/1/2022 CL3 of 2022 filed with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs under section 230 and 232 of the Companies Act 2013 for approving the scheme of arrangement between Messrs. NMDC Limited, the demerged company, and Messrs. NMDC Steel Limited, resulting company, and their respective shareholders and creditors. The present meeting of the equity shareholders of the demerged company is held in terms of the notice already sent to all the shareholders pursuant to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs order dated 11th April 2022. The meeting will transact the business as per the notice dated 4th May 2022 issued by Madam Srimati Rasika Chobe, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Steel, Government of India, the chairperson appointed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi. As per the notice dated 4th May 2022, the meeting was earlier scheduled on 7th of June 2022 at 11 a.m. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the meeting of equity shareholders was adjourned and the same is being held today, that is on 28th of June 2022 at 11 a.m. through VC and other audiovisual means. The company intimated the BSE Limited, National Stock Exchange of India Limited, and the Calcutta Stock Exchange Limited stock exchanges where the equity shares of the demerged company are listed. Regarding the adjournment of meeting of equity shareholders scheduled on 7th June 2022 to 28th June 2022. The company has also published the newspaper advertisements regarding the adjournment of the meeting in Times of India, an English daily newspaper, Hyderabad and Chhattisgarh editions, Eenadu, a Telugu daily newspaper in Hyderabad, where the registered office of the demerged company is situated, and the Dainik Bhaskar, a Hindi daily newspaper in Nagarha, Bastar district, where the registered office of the resulting company is situated, intimating the equity shareholders of the demerged company about the adjourned meeting. I extend a very warm welcome to Madam Srimati Rasika Chobe, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Steel, Government of India, Chairperson of the meeting. I also welcome Sri Amitava Mukherjee, Director of Finance, Sri Somnath Nandi, Director Technical, Sri Dilip Kumar Mohanty, Director Production, to the meeting. We also have with us Sri C.A. Prabhakar Reddy, Practicing Chartered Accountant, Scrutinizer, and Sri G. Bhaskar Murthy, General Manager, RT Consultants Private Limited, Registrars and Share Transfer Agents of the company. As you are aware, the demerged company has made arrangements for e-voting through National Securities Depository Limited, NSDL, an authorized agency of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, pursuant to provisions of the Companies Act 2013 and SEBI Listing Obligations and Disclosure Requirements, Regulation 2015. The remote e-voting period commenced on Sunday, May 8, 2022 at 10 a.m. and closed on Monday, June 6, 2022 at 5 p.m. IST. The demerged company is also providing an e-voting facility to shareholders of the company during the meeting and up to the evening at 5 p.m. The demerged company had provided the facility to cast the votes electronically on the resolution set forth in the notice. Members who have not cast their votes yet electronically and who are participating in this meeting will have an opportunity to cast their votes during the meeting through the e-voting system provided by NSDL. Hence, members who have not cast their votes are requested to cast their votes during the meeting. The demerged company has appointed Sri C.A. Prabhakar Reddy, Practicing Chartered Accountant, as a scrutinizer to scrutinize the e-voting process in a fair and transparent manner. We have the requisite quorum of 30 members, minimum of 30 members, and present through the video conference to conduct the proceedings of this meeting. Participation of members through video conference is being recorded for the purpose of quorum as per the circulars issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Section 103 of the Companies Act 2013. The quorum being present, now I request Honorable respected Srimati Rasika Chaubey, chairperson of the meeting, to take the chair and conduct the proceedings of today's meetings. Thank you, madam.
A very good morning to you all. I'm Rasika Chaubey, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Steel, Government of India, and I have been appointed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, to act as a chairperson of the meeting which is being held of the equity shareholders of the demerged company NMDC Limited by their order dated 11/2022. The demerged company has taken all feasible efforts under the current circumstances to enable the members to participate through video conference and vote at the meeting. I would like to thank all the equity shareholders of the demerged company, directors on the board of the demerged company for joining this meeting over VC. And I hope all of you are safe and in good health. And I wish all the best to your families. The proposed scheme of arrangement is being made pursuant to the provisions of Section 230 to 232 and other relevant provisions of the Companies Act 2013 for the demerger of the demerged undertaking of NMDC Limited, that is the business of NMDC Iron Steel Plant at Nagarnar, Chhattisgarh, including without limitation the assets and liabilities described in Schedule 1 annexed to the scheme on an going concern basis to NMDC Steel Limited. The scheme of arrangement forms part of the notice convening the meeting of equity shareholders of the demerged company, that is NMDC Limited, and the notice, together with all annexures, is sent to all the equity shareholders of the demerged company on 5th May 2022 and is also available on the website of the demerged company. And I am, with the permission of the equity shareholders, take the notice with all its annexures as read. Now, the proposal placed before the equity shareholders is to consider and, if thought fit, approve with or without modifications the resolutions to approve the proposed scheme of arrangement between NMDC Limited and NMDC Steel Limited and their respective shareholders and directors. I would like to thank you all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We have the speaker shareholders who have registered themselves to speak or ask any question pertaining to any item in the notice. On the notice, he or she may do so now. Shareholders are requested to kindly keep their questions brief and specific. The moderator will facilitate the questions on the video feature. To avoid repetition, the answers to all the questions will be provided towards the end of the meeting. Shareholders may also note that the company reserves the right to limit the number of members asking questions depending on the availability of time. Before we go live with the question and answer session, here are some points to note for your convenience. Kindly turn on your video when you are projected on the broadcast screen. Kindly unmute yourself and proceed to ask the question. Please mention your name, DPID, client ID, and folio number, and the location from where you are joining. Each shareholder will have a minimum of 2 minutes for their questions. Once you have asked your question, you can switch off the video and mute yourself and continue to watch the proceedings of the meeting. With the permission of the chair, now we requested Mr. Dinesh Kotecha to unmute himself and kindly proceed with the question. May I request the moderator to kindly facilitate Mr. Dinesh Kotecha. Not yet. Okay, we'll give one more chance. Do we have Mr. Santosh Kumar Sana, the next shareholder speaker? Okay. Do we have Mr. Saket Kapoor?
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Saket Kapoor, go ahead. Please unmute yourself, sir. Please unmute your video also, sir.
Yes, definitely. I hope you can see me now.
Yes, of course, Mr. Saket.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar, madam. Ma'am, indeed, this is a momentous moment for the shareholders of NMDC that we are at the verge of now convening and passing this resolution that will pave the way for receiving the shares for NMDC, the Nagarnar steel plant that has been a big lag on the shareholders, definitely, because a lot of investment has gone into it, and they have not yielded any results as of now. So, firstly, ma'am, herein we would like to also understand currently how is this demerger going to be value accretive for investors. Since the time the proposal came, and post that, there has been a lot of changes that has happened in terms of the steel industry, ma'am. And you are very well aware about the export tax being imposed, and thereby even the existing players, the private players have also have to relook their expansion programs going ahead. So, as per our understanding as investors, there was a thought that we would be divesting this steel plant going ahead, or even if we continue to run it, how is the demand supply equation? How has that changed over a period of time? And with the export tax remaining in the annual, what time it would be taking for this steel plant to ramp up its capacity and being a profitable unit going ahead? And even other than that, ma'am, also because both iron ore and steel being benchmarked globally for the global prices, there has been a significant correction, and on the top of that, there was an imposition of export tax. So a double whammy has happened over a period of the last 45 days. That has just shut down the sentiment completely for the steel sector. And we have also heard that the private players have put forward their recommendation about the negative implications that has happened on account of export tax. So we as investors are also caught in a tough situation with this imposition that has resulted in complete in a lot of erosion in the equity value. So, ma'am, through this forum, we would also like to request the government to take into account all the benefits that would have happened with the imposition of tax, and also now with the steel prices globally cooling, the iron ore prices globally cooling, and the same being very well reflected in the domestic prices of both iron ore and steel. How much more merit does this export tax still derive, taking into account the current situation? So through this forum, would definitely request the ma'am to take forward the request from also investors' point of view, the type of value erosion that has happened for iron ore company like NMDC, and also companies like SAIL, which belongs to the government. So please take forward the thought process of when and how to mitigate the negative impact of the export taxes. And again, ma'am, with we were commissioning the pellet plants, as Amitabh sir has rightly explained to us during conference call, that the pellet plants would be making money for us. But now with pellet now being charged at 50% for taxes, that also becomes an unviable option for us. And there would be glut of the same in the country. So my understanding as a layman is that there's an imbalance today in the country in terms of the production and sales number. That is very much seen in the volume data number which NMDC has published for the first 2 months. And the production and the sales, the gap can be there as there is a huge build-up of inventory. So all these steps are turning detrimental to the companies in the sector. So please take note and look into the aspect of the same, that how can the normal can be restored again. And coming back, the Panna Diamond Mines legacy has been a laggard on the numbers, and I think the 30-40 crores is being the losses every year. So what could be the step going ahead with now this demerger going away? What other steps have been taken to improve the profitability of the company? And if this export tax stays for a long, what are the mitigating steps the organization is taking to ramp up its volume? Because we came up with a data volume guidance of 42 million ton for this year. Again, and then again reaching to some 100 million ton by 2030, or a period has been given by the management, the professional management team. So how are things currently inclined? And what would be the future of the existing steel plant? What is our thought process with the steel plant going ahead? And lastly, ma'am, what has been the cost of this deferment of EGM? Since the EGM was scheduled on 7th and it didn't happen, how much cost the company has to incur because of this deferment? If the figures are available, would we like to be abreast about it? These are the key points and my observations, and I took this opportunity to convey the same through this forum. Thank you for the chance I have got, and also if Amitabh sir would have given us some more color in answering of how the iron ore market is shaping up with the volatility experienced in the international market, and also the glut which we are experiencing domestically. If you could correct me wherever I have made any mistakes, if any. So thank you once again for this opportunity. I hope the government would deliberate on the fact of this, the negative implications this export tax, according to my understanding, has created in the ecosystem, and how the same can be corrected so that the things can be again restored in the best way, taking into account also the problems faced by the MSMEs earlier. That's all from my side. Thank you for this opportunity, and namaskar, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saket Kapoor. We welcome your suggestions. We have taken note of whatever concerns that you have raised. So we'll reply to all the questions at the end. I already have informed you. So may we have Rohit Poti Prakash? May I request the moderator to kindly unmute. Rohit? Not yet. Okay. May we look for Mr. Vijay Ramawat? Not yet. So okay, we'll run through once again the whole list once again for the benefit of our speakers who have registered with the company. May we check whether Mr. Dinesh Kotecha has joined the meeting?
Yes, sir, I have joined. Good morning.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Dinesh. Please unmute yourself and also unmute the video so that we may see the director would like to also see you and the chairperson. Go ahead with your question. Okay, please go ahead with your question, Mr. Dinesh.
Sir, my question was, basically this is an adjourned AGM, right? And in this adjourned AGM, now what are the you are going to give us share of the other company. Now, when will all that process be over? That is the first thing. And secondly, what are our growth plans for the current year, sir? And once we get the other company listed, what is the growth plan of that company also? If you can give in some brief about that company. The future of both the companies, if you can discuss in brief, I will be very happy. And as it is, I am in favor of all the resolutions. I had already voted earlier, so I did not vote again, I think, right? Thank you very much, sir, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. Very brief and so I am very thankful to you. So we may request Mr. Santosh Kumar Saraf if he has joined the meeting, please. Okay, may we look once again for Mr. Rohit Poti Prakash? Okay, has Mr. Vijay Ramawat joined? Okay, we will give one more chance for the end of before we close the meeting to the other people who have not joined. In the meantime,
Yeah, we will start.
Yes. So we will start. I hand over the mic to our chairperson to kindly address the questions and the concerns of the shareholders.
Saket, we'll start with your questions first. I mean, you had a long list of suggestions as well as questions. So basically, you have talked about the demerger thing, then you have talked about the concerns which are there in the industry because of the export duty. Then you also talked about the Panna mine, then you talked about the cost of AGM, which was adjourned, and also iron ore market. So, we'll do one thing. We'll touch upon all these issues. I'll first ask Director of Finance, who will talk about the demerger, and he'll also talk to you about the iron ore market, and maybe the cost, he can comment on the cost of AGM also. So I'll hand over first to Amitabh.
Thank you, ma'am. Saket, I'll take one question at a time. First is, you asked about the impact of iron ore on this, on the recent duty structure on iron ore and how it is affecting our market. Of course, as you are aware, that we have taken 2 major price cuts over the last 2 months since this duty structure was announced. The price cut was fairly deep. But you will also note that there has been a general worldwide trend in metals and mining that it has gone on the downward. If you see iron ore specifically, we exported 14.7 million ton. India exported 14.7 million ton of iron ore, of which below 60 grade, let's say 58 and 55 grade, were around 12.5 million ton. So the majority of export of iron ore from India is essentially 58 and below. Yet before last, we exported 43.2 million ton, of which more than 35 million ton was 55 and 58. Now, we deal normally with higher grade iron ores, that is 62, 64, 65. This was never exported in any large quantities. Last year it was around 1.8 million ton. At 58, if you realize that it is not in direct competition with the kind of ore that is selling in the Indian market. And to use 58 ore, you will require certain amount of beneficiation. There are beneficiation facilities available in India, but due to tailing management, most of them are inoperational. We haven't beneficiation facility at Tonikolai. We don't operate it because the tailing, the disposal of tailings is restricted, and the clearances in most of these beneficiation plants are not available. So to that extent, of course, a direct competition from 55 grade iron ore to 64, 65 grade is not there. But there has been price cuts essentially because of lack of demand, and there has been a general downswing in the entire metals and minerals trade throughout not only India but also beyond India. You again mentioned about stocking. Yes, we are, as you have seen, that our stocking has increased substantially. But I'd just like to point out that it is not all bad news. Last year, for example, if you see our monsoon months, which has just started, we are unable to produce and therefore unable to sell. But this time, thanks to the adequate build-up of stock, we will be in a position to service the market. So almost through the entire monsoon. So we have around, normally last year we had around 3 million tons of stock just pre-monsoon. Now we have 8 million tons of. So if you see that is a good thing to happen for the Q2 figures. So if when I go to the Q2 figures, you will see that our sales would have been, it will be easier for us to service that. So stock build-up per se cannot be a negative thing, because every year during this Q2, there has been a problem of us not being able to service a certain amount of demand from the industry. This year, thankfully, we have much better ability to service our customers during that period. Regarding cost of AGM, except for the advertisement in the newspapers and stock exchanges and other things, there has been no other incremental, and of course some manual amount for telecasting it live. There has been no other major expenditure so far as these are concerned. Anything else that was? So you wanted to know the demerger timelines and the valuation. Of course, once we get the approval of the shareholders in today's demerger, and thereafter we have a meeting for the unsecured creditors later today. So once we get the requisite approval, we will obviously approach the company law board, and thereafter, after their approval, we'll have to file it with the stock exchanges and other regulatory bodies like SEBI. And finally, when these approvals are required, we'll approach the central government for making a formal approval and notification for demerger. Once that is done, of course, we will have to extinguish our shares in NMDC Steel Limited and issue share the ratio of 1:1, and thereafter go and list this. So prior to the listing, I think from today, if the approvals, the requisite approvals are received, then it should take 3 to 4 months for that, and another about 2 months to list the shares. So another 5 to 6 months, we can see the shares of the listed company being a new company being listed in the share. Now, what will be the benefit of the existing shareholders and the other shareholders? Obviously, the existing shareholder will be getting 1:1 shares in the new company. At what level that would be listed, it is difficult to speculate. But the fact is that we have the net assets at the date of demerger, which is 31, 3 2021 or 1/4/2021. The net assets being demerged would be 70,000 from 34 odd crores. So even if we get 1 rupee to 1 rupee listing, considering that there is around 3 crores, 2 crore 98 lakh shares. So if we get 1:1 valuation also for our capital work in progress, so it should list around 70 or something. But that's just a speculation. That's not a number that one can vouch for. Depending on what the market is, but whatever it is listed, the shareholders get a direct benefit. Second is that it is beyond doubt that this steel plant is one of the most modern steel plants in the country and technologically the most advanced. And although it is a 3 million ton plant, but the blast furnace size makes it possible in the hands of a good shareholder, hands of a good steel maker to substantially be more than 3 million ton. It can ramp up to 3.5 to 4 million ton easily. Second is that we are told that this being the latest technology, the time taken from commissioning to full ramp up is also substantially reduced, and historical facts of that ramp up will take 1 year or 2 years might not be applicable in this case because these are state-of-the-art technologies. These are the best technologies available in the world, whether it is the blast furnace, whether it is the SMS, or whether it is the casters. So to that extent, ramping up would be a much faster process than it has been historically done in India. That is what we are. That is what we understand. Keeping this in view, I think that the new resultant company, which will be steel company, has a fairly bright future. Of course, the steel industry goes through the cyclical turns of highs and lows. It might be going towards the low turn now, but on a long run, this with the product line that it has of flat steels. And remember, as you said, this steel plant is not an export-oriented unit. It is basically it was designed to cater to the domestic markets. And we believe that this quality of flat markets has been will be there in India. And also, if you see there, when we were commissioning, a lot of major customers like Fosco, etc., have shown interest in offtake from our steel plants. And that being fairly close to Vizag, I think the distribution toward the southern part of the country and the western part of the country will not be major challenges, where the major consumers of flat products today are there. They are in the south of India and the west of India. So to that extent, I believe that the resultant company also has a fairly a very good future, being the state-of-the-art plant and the products that are it is likely to produce. And this has around a 10% capacity to produce high-quality steel also, which is the automatic. One automatic, it is designed for the 10% production on the So that is the, I hope that addresses most of your queries.
I think only one thing I would like to add is suggestions regarding export duty. I mean, you were concerned about me wanting to convey to the government that the steel players are very affected by the export duty. Let me mention one thing to you. whether imposition of duties and all is a very considered decision which is taken by the government, and we keep in mind whether it is a need for the country. I mean, this is taken as a very considered call. You are all aware that inflation, steel price rise have been one of the reasons why, because of which export duties have been raised. And we're also alive to the fact that we want to continue to be exporting, net exporter of steel, and all these issues are in the notice of the government. They will examine it as and when the time comes. There could be examination of whether the duty should be further extended or what should be done to the duty. So, I mean, it's not something that once the export duty is imposed, it's a permanent feature. These are dynamic things. They should always be reviewed by the government. And as Amitabh has pointed out, that the future of the steel sector is very, very, bright. And we are expecting that we will go up to a 300 million ton by 2030 and a 500 million ton capacity by 2047. So definitely the government will be placing the right kind of a ecosystem, right kind of a conducive atmosphere, right kind of duty structure, so that we can reach that. Okay, and your things will definitely be conveyed to the government, and which we do from the ministries.
Ma'am, I just forgot to mention one thing about the pellet plant you mentioned. Now, of course, the pellet plant is a 2 million ton pellet plant, and a majority we have a customer next door, which is the steel company. The new the resultant steel company is there to be the majority of the customer. And we are very close to the port as well, where there are RIL, etc. So I don't think that consumption of our output would present a major challenge for the pellet plant, and hence the pellet plant is actually going to be a money earner for us. 2 million ton. It's not an 8 million ton plant, it's only a 2 million ton plant. More than 1 million ton will be consumed by the steel plant next door itself. And we will be left with very little to sell at other plants, but we are fairly close to the ports, where there are major steel plants like RIL themselves. And so I do not think that the consumption of pellets produced by our pellet plant at Nagarnar would actually be a major challenge.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, ma'am. So for your informative replies to the questions that have been raised by our shareholders. So we would also like to invite once again our shareholders who have registered as the last opportunity once again, so that the directors are here, the chairperson is also here to address your queries and questions. So may I request to Mr. Santosh Kumar Saraf, whether if he has joined the meeting. May I request the moderator to kindly check with us. So may I request Mr. Rohit Koti Prakash. Has he joined moderator? So okay, Mr. Rohit Koti Prakash, please unmute yourself and please go ahead and kindly ask your question, whatever.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, very much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and sorry for being late to the meeting. And thanks a lot for the detailed answers for the previous questions. Sir, I have few more questions. First thing is, in the last phone call, we mentioned there was some problem with a component in commissioning the steel plant. So, what is the current situation? Has that problem been resolved from the vendor's end or our end, and is the commissioning process started? So that is the first question. And when do we expect the full commissioning of this steel plant? Second question is, sir, once the demerger take place, what will be the composition of management of the steel company? So will the company have the same board of directors and the management as NMDC, or do we have a new team in place? And if not, when do we expect the new team to be in place? The other question on what is the iron ore availability for the steel plant, because generally these days companies want a backward integrated plant, and I understand the steel plant doesn't have iron ore mines for itself. So how do we ensure the availability of iron ore to the newly demerged plant? Secondly, on NMDC, how will the balance sheet look like once the once the demerger has taken place. So will all the debt that has been taken for the steel plant will go to the steel plant's balance sheet, or will NMDC retain some of the debt? So if you can give some understanding of the balance sheets of both the companies post demerger. And lastly, sir, I wanted to understand that government has been pushing for a quarterly, or indications are there that a regular dividend payment policy has to be implemented. And now that we don't have the capex for the steel plant, do we think we will go ahead with a quarterly dividend policy rather than lumpy dividends once or twice in a year? These are my questions. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. You've taken a lot of interest to actually pose the right question for us. So may we also check for Mr. Vijay Ramawan, if he has joined. Moderator to kindly let me know when he has joined. So we take the question.
So I think we'll do one thing. We before Rohit came to the thing, Mr. Dinesh had asked them. Let me share some views and ask a few questions. And people talked the technical flashbacks. He had talked about the future of both the companies. The technical question, and I would like to answer that. And the process of getting the shares, you can talk about. That is the thing that Dinesh had talked. After that, we go to Rohit.
Everyone. Each of both the companies, you know, NMDC is a mining origin company, and it has a future plan of producing 100 million tons. It is bound to have a good future as it now. Right now, there is a downturn, but it will bounce back definitely. As far as demand steel plant, this can be said that this is one of the state-of-the-art steel plants. And it is producing flat hot-rolled coil, which will cater the niche market of India itself. And whatever time it takes, as our Director of Finance has explained, that to stabilize and ramp up the production, it reaches to the rated capacity, and this will definitely be one of the most modern plants, and it will go give good return of money as of now. And as steel is a technical process, technical market, so right now there is a downturn, but it has to bounce back because per capita consumption of steel in India is bound to increase, and this will definitely give a good market scenario in the near future. That is all. That's
I think I'll come to Rohit in that case. Rohit, you had asked for a few questions. I'll just summarize what you had asked for. Then I'll ask the concerned directors to talk about. First, you had talked about the commissioning process and the problems we are facing in commissioning the steel plant. That was your first question. Then you asked about the composition of the share company, the steel board, the composition of the board of the new company that will be formed. You also talked about the iron ore availability of, and that's one of the concerns you have. Then you wanted to know about the balance sheet, the impact on the balance sheet of the post the merger. And also you wanted to touch upon the fact that wanted to know that what will be the impact on the dividend, the fact that the capital expenditure is not taking place, and what will be the policy, how exactly the dividend policy is panel. So I first about the commissioning process and the problems, I request Mr. Nandi to talk about it, and then we talk about the debt return. And Mr. Nandi, you can also touch upon the iron ore long-term linkages which you are planning for. Both the things you can start there, and then we
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, commissioning process has already started. So Cocoman, we know that Cocoman heating has started, and in the month of July, we are going to push for coke. And after the stock of sufficient quantity of coke, we will go for blast furnace and down the line in cement and mills. So there were some problems because some of the equipment failed, and we are taking corrective action. And down the line, maybe it will take another 3 to 4 months to commission the whole line up to the finished product of the hot rolled coil. And as far as I don't know, linkage to this fact, we have already taken a decision that there will be a long-term, most likely 10 years contract along with NMDC, so that, I don't know, it's secured. And by that time, this pellet plant will also come. There will be a arm's length distance pellet will also be supplied to the same steel plant, which will make it self-sufficient about at least iron content of the requirement.
Rohit, I'd like to add here that we do not have a captive mine for NISP, but as Mr. Nandi mentioned, that there will be a long-term linkage which will ensure a regular supply, though an arm's length. So that regular supply will not be disturbed. Now we touch upon the other things, the balance sheet, the impact. Amitabh, I would like to touch upon you talk about the impact on the balance sheet post demerger and also about the dividend issue which he had raised. And we can also touch upon the composition of the new board. What is
First is what is the balance sheet look like? The balance sheet will obviously break around 1/4/2021. And the cross assets that will be transferred is 18,650 crores, which was the capital work in progress, and the liability that will be transferred is 1,602 crores. So the net assets that will be transferred to the new company is around 17,048 crores. To that extent, the balance sheet of in terms of capital work in progress and the liabilities from the NMDC balance sheet will obviously come down. That's number one. Number two is obviously whatever loan it has been taken, whatever loan is shown in the balance sheet are of two types. One is what we do for our working capital, which we normally take away. We don't want to break our FDs. We will normally take a set of for the working capital requirements, but that is fluctuating and minimum. As of date, the loan that has been taken for NISP is around 534 crores non-convertible debenture loan and around 4,460 crores with the SBI, for which we have drawn to date about 1,100 crores. So obviously this 534 crores and this 1,100 crores along with the sanction amount of 4,400 crores will be transferred to the resultant company balance sheet. And this SBI loan will also ensure that the new company has enough liquidity, not only to commission, but enough liquidity for operations for more than a year. So to that extent, the resultant entity will not require any sort of financial support either from the NMDC or from government or from any other agency, because that liquidity has been tied up and ensure that the company will be in its feet from day one. So, and as and when then it starts operating and generates revenue, the company will be in a convenience. So there is likely to be absolutely no liquidity crisis post demerger and post formation of a new company. Now, once obviously this new company is formed and the shares are listed, it will be a government company wherein the government will be holding 60% of the shares as it does in NMDC today. And it will be like any other public sector, like NMDC, like RINL, like SAIL, or like Indian Oil, or etc., whatever these companies are. And as you are aware, that the functional directors of a company are appointed by the government, and the government will take the necessary steps to appoint the board of directors. And I cannot preempt what would be their choice. I have no speculation on that. So the government will apply its mind and then thereafter appoint a full-fledged board of directors to that. But the prerogative of appointment of directors to the board of the new company would not lie with the NMDC, but it would lie with the central government. And they will appoint the So, as you know, there will be a mirror shareholding. So, the government would be holding 60.18% of the share. That will be a government company, and all rules and procedures of the that are applicable to a government company will be there. Now we are coming to dividend. As you are aware, that NMDC is one of the highest paying dividend companies in India, being the private sector or the public sector. The now dividend yield is one of the topmost in the world. The mandate is that we need to provide at least 30% of our net profit or 5% of our net worth as dividend. But historically, if you see, we have been paying much more to the shareholder. Last year, we spent more. We actually gave more than 48%, around 47 or 48% of our PAT. We distributed it to the shareholder. Year before that, if you take both the share buyback and the dividends, so this payout would be in the ratio of around 45 to 47. So the last few years, we have been constantly giving our shareholders distribution of around 45% in either of the forms, 45 to 48% in either forms to the shareholders, and this is one of the highest percentages of payout. Although the minimum percentage required is 30%. Now, in how many installments that is to be given? Of course, the board takes a call at that point of time, and we cannot, if the board thinks it fit that it should be given once a year, or twice a year, or 4 times a year. Obviously, that is the call that the board at that point finds, and whatever when it's wisdom, and in its wisdom, whatever it decides. Last year, we paid twice. Paid the payout of 40.72 rupees per share in 2 installments of one at rupees 9 and the other at rupees 1 at rupees 9.01 and the other one at around 5 rupees 2% something. So these are paid in 2 installments. The year before that, the board deemed it fit to pay it in 1 installment. But the board does review the situation of the cash flows regarding what are the capex expenditures are there and what are the tax payment, and based on the cash flows, the board does take a call whether it is to be paid once or twice. Of course, any shareholder would like that at least it is the entire payout is paid over at least 3 or 4 installments in each quarter. The board does take into cognizance, but there are other factors like capex and availability of funds, etc., which the board takes into confidence. But historically, as I said, two takeaway points. One is we are one of the highest dividend payers in the country. Second is that our payout is usually much more than the minimum mandated of 30% of PAT or 5% of net worth. I think that would answer all the questions regarding dividend and composition of board and other things.
So, thank you very much. So, we may call upon once again the leftover shareholders who are registered. Once again, I'll give the final opportunity. Santosh Kumar Saraf. Moderator, can you check whether he is on the Mr. Vijay Ramawat. Thank you. With the permission of the chairman, I think all the questions were answered in detail. With this, I will hand over back to the chairperson.
So thank you, Company Secretary. The equity shareholders may know that the voting on the NSDL platform will continue to be available for voting by the shareholders. Therefore, the equity shareholders who have still not cast their vote are requested to do so at the earliest. Now, the scrutinizers will submit this report after completion of the scrutiny of the votes cast by the equity shareholders through remote e-voting and through e-voting system during the meeting. The results will be declared on or before 30th June 2022, along with the report of the scrutinizer, and shall be displayed at the registered office of the demerged company, and shall also be placed on the demerged company website and on the website of NSDL, besides being communicated to the stock exchange. I take this opportunity to thank all the shareholders for voting, joining the meeting, and also asking questions. And I would now declare the proceedings as closed.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Despite the busy schedule of Madam Radhika Chaudhary, Additional Secretary, Government of India, Ministry of Steel, she has made it convenient to attend right on time. So I thank the chairperson for the meeting for having conducted the meeting. And I also thank all the equity shareholders of the demerged company, directors of the demerged company, scrutinizers and registrars and share capital agents for attending the meeting. And I thank the shareholders especially for having taken interest to pose out so many questions. And we are always available on conference calls after the results are declared. Our directors and CMD always take the calls. You are free to join us to know more about the company. We give complete disclosures to the stock exchanges. You can also go to our website and also the stock exchange websites. And I also thank everybody for having taken their own shoulder, their responsibility for having conducted this meeting. Thank you very much. Thanks you once again. Moderator, may I request you to kindly. So I would request that finance. Technical support, you are still there? Can you unmute Mr. Saket Kapoor? He has a short question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity again, madam. Ma'am, just to conclude on this point, as been stated by you, that this is a dynamic situation. So going forward, as this revocation of export tax or a change may happen in the annual, depending upon the market situation. The purpose for which it was introduced into the system, if that has been affected, can the mechanism be much more dynamic, or we will wait for further times to pass on? Because ma'am, it's to just have a very basic understanding. We will be having the monsoon period coming up, and at that time itself the domestic activities get squeezed down. So any decision post that period, although we should not preempt it, but any decision post that would have a repercussion effect on the production in the country, since export is a non-viable option. Firstly, thank you for giving me this follow-up opportunity once again, Amitabh sir and madam. That was a small point, and we as investors therefore are also looking for some kind of decline in profits, definitely for the quarters ahead, since there is a significant markdown in the selling price. So if we could get what was our selling price for the month of April and May, the average prices for iron ore, that would have been sufficient, if that numbers are available too. Thank you, madam, and thank you, Amitabh sir and the company secretary sir, for giving me this extended opportunity. I'm really indebted, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Saket. Yes, may request the chairperson kindly allow that explanation. Thank you.
Yes, Amitabh, you can comment on the price.
As you are aware that the prices in the last 1 month has come down by around 1,700. First, we took a cut of 600 rupees, and now we have taken a cut of around 700 rupees. So that's around 1,700 that we have come down as compared to the month of April and May. Obviously, this is around a cut of by around 20% overall. Now, the average prices are different at Bailadila, and they are different at Donimalai, of course. So, there is, but as you said, what will it be affect financially? Going ahead, obviously, there is, as of now, 20% price cut has been affected. But please remember that we plan to have an incremental production as compared to last year by at least 4 to 5 million tons. We're targeting 47 million tons instead of the 42 that we did last year. So that will be compensated. Some amount of price cuts will be compensated with volume increase. Number two, that with the monitoring committee deductions, which are earlier there at almost 20% of our sales price in Karnataka. Now, with the Supreme Court judgment, we expect that to completely be done away with. So that is going to be another positive to the top line. With absolutely not doubt about that. But as you know, that Kumaraswamy mine has just recently renewed, and for that 7 million tons, we will have an additional increase of 22.5%. So this 20% saving from Kumaraswamy will be neutralized by the 22.5% levy. So there will be no net impact of renewal of or additional 22.5% additional, what do you call that? The additional charge for renewal will not be effectively there at Kumaraswamy, but in Doniwala it will be about saving where we almost producing almost 7 million tons, will be saving around 20% that are currently being deducted by the monetary company. So that is one saving that we will have, and we will also have a major upside on the volumes. So we expect that a lot of fair amount of decline in revenues as compared to the price with respect to price will be compensated with a substantial amount of increase in volumes. So this is the overall scenario in terms of profitability and cash flow that I just wanted to tell you. Thank you very much, sir.
So as regards the other question which you asked, I'm just reiterating once again that based on the market situation and based on the representation that we receive from the stakeholders and government received, any decision which has been taken is always reviewed. But whenever the right time comes to re-examine or will be noted, one will be announced by the Ministry of Finance. So all your stakeholders, just like you, the stakeholders are regularly in touch. And the decision of continuance or otherwise will be known.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Once again, I thank the chairperson and the shareholder for having taken out time to actually be in this meeting and also conduct the proceedings smoothly. Thank you very much. May technical support